Welcome to Universal Mindshift. Today we have an amazing segment. This is the Love Jones edition. And I have two wonderful guests, Tiffany and James Jones. Welcome to the show and congratulations to you both. I want to introduce both of you. Tiffany, amazing world author. You have so many books on Amazon. You support mental health and wellness at Tuskegee. You're a mother, you're a wife, you are a wellness coach. You do a lot of great things. And James, 20-year retired police officer in law enforcement, a pianist. He's been playing for about 30 years, supported major artists such as Smokey Norfolk, and also plays for Word of Faith in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm so thankful to have you both here. Congratulations on your marriage. You previously had a wedding. So I want to turn the mic over to you for you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about who you are.
Well, thank you so much, Jacinda, for having us. I'm Tiffany Jones. James and I got married on 12/29/24, so we are newlyweds. It's super duper fresh.
Honeymoon stage.
It's honeymoon stage, and it's gonna stay that way for life. I decree and declare.
Amen.
But I'm originally from Decatur, Georgia, a graduate of Tuskegee University and Morehouse School of Medicine. I work in the healthcare informatics field full time, and then, like you said, I do coaching, and I'm Amazon #1 best-selling author and a speaker. And I have a Bible study every first Thursday of the month. So that's kind of what I do. I call myself a parallelpreneur because I haven't stepped fully into the entrepreneur stage, but I definitely kind of make everything work as, best I can.
That's awesome. And I love how you summed that up because you do a lot more than that. So I really appreciate you just introducing yourself and also giving the audience a little bit about who you are and where you're from. Where can our audience locate you? Where can they find you?
Okay, so you can find me at It's Tiffany Jones. It's Tiffany Jones on IG. There's a link there, and you'll find my website, links to my book. You can join my monthly Bible study as well. So it's Tiffany Jones.
Awesome. And James,
Hey.
James, welcome to the show. We are so happy to have you here.
Appreciate you, man.
Love to learn just a little bit about you, and where can we find you?
Yeah, well, I am James Jones. I'm originally from Atlanta, old Atlanta.
Okay.
Born and raised in Atlanta, over the Summer Hill area. Shout out to Summer Hill. Went to North Atlanta High School. I got to give all my Atlanta my school names. King Middle School. Shout out to King Middle School as well. But I graduated from Grand Canyon University. As you stated, I'm a 20-year law enforcement retired officer. I serve as a security director for the city of Atlanta. Yes, I've been playing piano for about 30 years now. I started when I was 12 years old. Played for many artists, many churches, many groups, and I am at Word of Faith in Atlanta, Georgia. And I appreciate being there, love being there. My IG is James D. Jones 1_1. James D. Jones _1. That's where you can find me. So just a little bit about me.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yes, we are all Atlanta natives. That is so rare. So I love to, just highlight people who are from Atlanta because they really don't get to see a lot of people from Atlanta because Atlanta is like a melting pot, almost like the New York of the South. So it's amazing just to be part of a family that's originally from Atlanta. So that's amazing. So today's segment is focused on love, relationships, and God. So I want to get your perspective on faith and how it ties into God's love for one another, and also how it impacts your relationship and your marriage.
Okay, so you want me to get started?
Yeah, go ahead. Ladies first.
So the question is faith and how it relates to our love for one another.
Yes.
I'll start with that piece. Faith is things that we hope for, and so many of us, especially as we think about Valentine's Day just being passed, so many of us long to really have that person to share our life with, to do life with. But the Word of God teaches us that God is love. And so while many people hope for someone to love, faith is believing in God and his son Jesus, who was the ultimate sacrifice of love. So when I think of faith and how it relates to love, I think about God loving me so much that he gave his only begotten son, and that his son would complete a mission of death for my relationship with God. It's a sacrificial love, and that's how it plays into this marriage and this relationship. There is a constant dying of self, which is Christ, which is God, which is love. And so I think of love as faith. I think of love as death. I think of love as decreasing, because there is something, or going to this humble place because God showed up Jesus came as a servant, you know what I'm saying? So he showed up that way. So it's me every day having faith to believe that if I can walk this thing out, even just to a portion of how Jesus did for me, then I am loving my husband. That means I'm in a constant mode of having a service and a sacrificial attitude with him, just like Jesus did, which was the ultimate example of God's love. That's what it means to me.
I always say that, when you're tying faith, and I'm going faith in God because that's what my faith is. In order to understand what love is, you have to understand who God is. So God is love. We've heard that, and I truly believe that. That it's hard to say that I do love if you don't know God. You have to know God in order to love. He is love. He teaches us in his word how to love. Love is that's the Bible. The Bible is all about loving. That is one of the greatest commandments, is for us to love. But for someone saying, well, how do I do that? How do I go about love? You have to know God. You have to get to know God, understand God. If not, you're going to come up with your own fabricated way and method of loving. And that's what's going on in this world. People are coming up with all different type of methods of what they perceive love to be. And without God being at the center of it, it's not going to work. It's not love. It's just not. So that's how I tie faith into love, is me knowing God first, understanding who God is. Once I do that, then I feel comfortable about, okay, if I know who God is, then I'm going to know what love is. And I'll love the way God wants me to love. I know I'll be carrying out what real love is. So that's how it ties into that. And that's the building point. That's the foundation of a relationship. It starts there. You can't have a relationship without, it starts there. A lot of people try to skip past that, skip past God, skip past understanding what love is, and going straight into a relationship, and it doesn't work out, because that foundation is very important. So it's important to start there.
It's beautifully said. Wow. And I'm so glad you guys are here, because you have been obedient and you have been dedicated to God. So that's what got you to this beautiful place and this covenant with God. So sharing your testimony and how you were able to sacrifice so you can meet the right person. I want to know a little bit more about what that walk looked like for both of you, because there is sacrifice involved in order to find the right person. You have to sacrifice and die to yourself for the Lord. So would love to just hear your perspective on just some things you've had to go through, if you don't mind sharing, to get to where you are now.
Ooh, man. And so what you'll get a perspective from the man and the woman.
Okay.
All right? Because I think that is two totally different things and approaches. For men, it is tough. It is tough because you stated about dying to yourself. Your first opponent is yourself when it comes to finding, I'm just going to say, a wife. I'm going to go there. And we know the verse that said that he that finds a wife finds a good thing. Well, you have to have God's guidance on that journey. You do. What I learned is that he is just not a singular word, meaning that, okay, I can do this on my own. I can do it by I got this. No, you got to have God for that. Because I know a lot of mistakes I made prior to my wife is I was just a sucker for a pretty face. Men are very visual. We're visual. And we'll set, looks, we'll set that as our foundation and won't think about everything else. And you stop there. Like I said, even back in the Old Testament, kings and many men in the Old Testament, it was always about the beauty of a woman. They would kill a woman's husband because she was beautiful, and would take her just not knowing who she is mentally, spiritually, just beauty. And you have to understand that, man, we come from that, we derive from that. And so you have to understand how to curve that, how to say, okay, looks is one thing, but I got to go beyond that, because I don't want to keep hitting, the brick wall. I don't want to keep making the same mistakes. I don't want my relationships to keep failing, so it has to be more. And so my journey with meeting Tiffany was just that. I had to lay down everything that I thought I knew about how to court women, how to go after. Again, everything was just visual. I'm just being transparent. And of course we say things like, we want to be smart, intelligent, and all that type of thing. Well, but how do you truly know if the intelligence is there? How you truly know if she is smart, if she is God-fearing? We say those things, but you really got to dig in and do your homework. And I know for me, before I met her, I actually had to take a sabbatical. I did, just to go back to the drawing board to say, okay, what am I doing after several failed relationships or relationships not turning out to my expectation? As a man, what am I doing? How am I going about this? What am I doing? So I had to take I took about a 8-month sabbatical and just prayed and sought God about what I was doing. And everything that I'm sharing now is what he gave me. So that's just kind of how I started off. I go that just leading to our story, but I will say, it's just everything for me is submission to God. We can't do it on our own. We just can't. We don't have the intelligence on our own to be able to go out here and pick. You have to include God in your process. You got to have him all in it. You got to seek that wisdom and that knowledge to even know what you want. Because the thing is, we don't always know what's best for us. God does. We don't always know what's best for us. So for me, it started with my complete submission with God. Where am I spiritually? Am I trusting God, or is it just me? Am I leaning to my own understanding? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's kind of where it started for me. Go ahead. I can talk forever about that.
That's really good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of men and women just struggling, trying to figure out how can they get prepared for their wife or get prepared for their husband. They'll go on YouTube, they'll look at relationship segments on Instagram or on TikTok, but really the answer is surrendering to God.
Yeah, I think James and I both did that, and I think mine was in a different way. When you talk about how do we sacrifice, how do we prepare? For me, on my journey, I think one of the things that I intentionally did was do some of the things that you just said. I have one of my favorite scriptures is the people perish for lack of knowledge. I heard a quote. I don't know where I got this from. And I actually remember talking to my dad and my brother about this one day, years ago. But the quote was saying, men know a lot about women, but women don't know a lot about men. And I remember being intentional about learning about men, about learning about a healed man, a broken man, and a toxic man. About learning about the qualities of a wife. Learning about marriage. Even right now, one of my goals is to gather as much information as I can about how to be a good wife and about what a man needs. And I think a lot of us are failing because we don't know a lot about things that we're getting into. I think about when my most confident self is when I know what I'm talking about. I think about when I show up at a test and I feel good and I know I'm gonna pass is because I'm prepared. And so I have to say that one of my sacrifices was really learning about discerning and dating.
Yes, that's
I
good.
had never studied that.
Yep.
That's a whole study. So discerning, in dating, discerning what different types of men, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like how what do different things mean? And being open and having, other single friends and like sharing with them. And one of the things that I also learned on my journey that was a part of my sacrifice was when I first, I'm divorced and I was divorced, I'm married now, but one of the things I knew that I wanted a Christian man. I wanted a believer in God. Well, I had to learn that there was difference between a believer of Christ and a follower of Christ. And so one of my sacrifices was if I didn't see evidence of following Christ, that means something that he is not doing for the Lord. Let's be clear. Because it's denial. Like Christ is all about denial of myself.
Yes.
So if I didn't see any level of denial in a brother, then I felt like this was not a true follower of Christ.
Absolutely.
And this could be somebody presenting like girls like looks too, that had it all, and so, but I had to not get engulfed in money and attention and looks in a man and say, wait a minute, I don't see Christ in this man. I don't see any denying of himself,
right,
which is not true love. And so what attracted me to James is that when I met him, I saw denial of his flesh for Christ.
Awesome.
And that was when I saw that, and I don't know if we're gonna go into that,
Confirmation.
but when I saw that, yeah, we don't know if we're gonna go to that. You know what I'm saying? Well, we'll just say we were celibate.
Right.
We were celibate. So, James shared that he was celibate before I told him I was celibate. And I had never had a man tell me that. And that was like, what? And so but I knew it was for God. It wasn't for help. It wasn't because I wanted to. It wasn't because he couldn't. I mean, look at him, right? It was because he was doing this for Christ. And that was that indicated to me this is a true follower of Christ. This is somebody that loves Christ, because the word of God says, if you love me, obey me.
Exactly.
And so when you see obedience, that's it. So that was me learning and discerning, and also saying no when you're gonna get more of I believe in Jesus.
Right.
The road is narrow when they follow Jesus. And so I'm so thankful. Yeah.
That's good. And I like how you touched on men know a lot about women, but women don't know much about men.
Yep.
And even for myself, I had to study and go to seminars. I followed R.C. Blake's and took queenology courses.
I love him. Yes.
So there's programs out there, to help you become a wife and to help you discern the right type of man. If you don't mind, what are some other programs that you were involved in that helped you to become a wife or also identify a godly man?
Okay, well, we said RC Blanks. I watched a lot of, I'm a big Charles Stanley fan.
Yes.
Like, Charles Stanley is just a legend. Miles Monroe.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, Miles Monroe is to me one of the most significant teachers of relationships. I mean, you always want to look for people who had good examples.
Yep.
And he will always talk about his wife and the marriage that they had and the health of it. But he teaches so much. Even right now, you can YouTube so much on Miles Monroe. So I would say Miles Monroe. I would say Charles Stanley, and Charles Stanley not from a relationship standpoint, but from a developing my knowledge and my maturity as a Christian, because he just gives you the word plain. And so one of the things I like to encourage anybody that wants to be a wife, and I can't speak for husbands, but I think this goes for anybody, is to look to Jesus. Because the word says, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and all things will be added unto thee.
Right.
So it wasn't even a search of like, okay, I was intentionally like learning about men, but I also intentionally wanted to learn more about Jesus.
Yes.
And learn about obedience and learn about sacrifice and learn about suffering well. So I was just trying to mature so that I would be ready, because marriage is work. And we were looking at a YouTube, we look at a lot of Instagram posts and we save them to our little Instagram and send them to each other. And one of them said, love works. You know what I'm saying? And so you want your marriage to work, you have to work.
Right.
And there's a lot of work, involved. And so in order for me not to be myself and who can just be like, you forget this, I had to watch those things. So I would say, more so than anything, it was a lot of YouTubes, even my Instagram posts and things that I started to make sure my channel was feeding me messages, encouraging and giving me information about how to learn. I read a lot of books, and I can make sure that Jacinda has them so you can share. I read a lot of different books about relationships as well.
Awesome. That's very, very important. So I appreciate your insight and your knowledge and your wisdom. I want to also kind of let the audience know, how did you two meet?
She like telling this story. I'll give you. I would just kind of tell her how it happened. All right. So I'll start my part, my piece. So I went out on a limb and tried online dating. And that was, and I say on a limb because it's so much out there with that. Again, I was in law enforcement, so I was very skeptical about meeting anybody online. Shoot, you can barely trust some folks that you meet in person traditionally. So we talking about online now. But I gave it a shot, and primarily because I'm not a just outside person, and I know that we're moving to this digital world. We on social media, so what's different between social media and online dating? I mean, you can meet people on social media. I just know we live in a digital world. So I say, you know what? I'm gonna give it a shot because I know that there could be people, right around my nose, right under my nose, and I won't even know, because I'm used to that traditional, going out meeting folks. But I'm like, well, I work a lot. I'm not out like that, so I'm gonna give it a shot, and so I did. And so I did the 30-day subscription with Match. All right, shout out to Match.
Shout out to Match.
Shout out to Match.com.
We ready for your commercial?
And I researched a lot. Only thing, how I got the Match, just in case y'all want to know, I literally just put in top dating sites for whatever year that was, 2023. And that's the one that came up. And I tried that. No, I didn't do Christian Mingle. I just did what was top. So I went with Match. Awesome. And I did my 30-day subscription. It was a very interesting experience. It was overwhelming, to say the least. It started off being everything I thought it would be, and that's just a lot of weird people on there, and a lot of messaging that was it was overwhelming. It really was. I put my profile on there, and I was just very direct about what I was looking for. I did. Even on my profile, I'm looking for, a wife. I don't want to play around. I'm very, clear about what I want. But with that came a whole lot of, women. A lot of women love to hear that. Oh, this guy they saw commitment. And it was overwhelming for me. It really was. And so 30 days went by and I didn't make any connections. I just did not. The Christian, my wife mentioned something about evidence of faith. I didn't see a lot of that. I did. Even when you put it in your bio and you go on there, they have it where you can actually filter the types of people that you want to connect with. I had Christian in there, but I was getting all type of crazy stuff. So it ended up not working out for me, that 30-day period. So I decided, you know what, I tried it, I'm gonna leave it alone, all right? And so what happened was, I forgot to cancel it after the 30 days, and they charged my account. And I saw that $29 or $39.99 come off of there. I was like, man, I forgot to cancel that. So I went back and made sure I canceled it, but I had already paid for another month. So they told me, hey, you have access until the end of the month. And I was like, well, it is what it is. And right after I did that, I think it was maybe a day or two later, I received a like, because you get these likes when people like your profile. And I've been getting those. I had been getting those. So I was like, oh, here we go.
Been getting those.
Yeah, here go another like. But I saw this like, and I saw her profile, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I said, what is this? And I said, I ain't seen no face, nothing like this the whole time I've been there. Now, get this, it's a true story. I just told her this the other day. We are visual, all right? I'm not gonna say that the picture wasn't attractive, but what really got me, what I told her, is that just looking at her picture, it seemed like she had a sweet spirit. I felt that through the picture. It wasn't just the pretty. I said, man, she seemed like, her picture, I wish I had it. It was just vibrant, and you could just feel her spirit through the picture.
That's beautiful.
And I was just like, man, she just seemed like she got a really cool, spirit. Now, what was funny, I'm gonna say this, because it's almost derailed us, all right?
Okay.
So I read her bio and I saw Morehouse, okay? I didn't see School of Medicine. I saw Morehouse. And I was like, wait a minute now. I said, hold on, Morehouse, the all-male school? So I said, did she go to Morehouse? I was like, oh boy, here we go. Atlanta strikes again. I'm looking at the picture. True story. True story. Because this almost literally derailed. Like, I was literally about to make a decision off of that. How did she, whatever. Go to Morehouse.
Yeah, right.
Like,
at this point.
what is happening right now? All right. So I waited about 2 or 3 before I even reached out because I just couldn't believe it. But then I went back. I said, well, let me just try to send some messages to feel her out, or whoever it is. And I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. And so I ended up messaging her, skipping to that part about the Morehouse part, and she explained to me that no, Morehouse has a school of medicine, which I did not know all this time. I saw the building, but I thought it was just tied to Morehouse College. I didn't know that it was a separate school. And man, you talking about a load lifted off.
He literally asked me, I want to ask you about this Morehouse thing. I was like, what?
To make sure you're a woman.
I had School of Medicine on there. And he was like, and Morehouse is a male school. I'm like, the School of Medicine is co-ed.
Yeah, when you don't know, you don't know.
You don't know.
And we're in Atlanta, so and dating online could be scary.
It is.
You know?
It is scary.
Yeah.
I've had a scary encounter.
Yeah, I want to learn more about your experience with how you met or found James or sent him a like and
I gotta
online
go.
dating.
Okay. Oh my gosh. So I mean, like he's telling the story. So I actually was taking. I took a break. I had got a toxic relationship, to be honest. It was like, we only lasted like 60 days because, like I said, when it's toxic, I'm out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I had took a long break and just prayed and just, work on your healing. Like, let's keep it real. Like, sometimes you get into something, you're like, oh, I just got to take a break. So it was a long time. I just wasn't on any. I had tried dating apps like prior to, but I just took a long break. I don't know how long it was. It was a while. A girlfriend of mine told me about Match. I had never been on Match. Mm-hmm. I had tried Christian Mingles, actually. Mm-hmm. Weird? Very weird. Very weird. Very weird. And because of the same reasons. And I started to embrace, I'm in my 40s, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going out any much. I don't even, what I see when I go out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want a man that's out. So why would I find a man out,
Exactly.
And so, I just started to embrace, this is where we are. This is the age. I think at first it can be a little bit embarrassing, like, online, but you gotta like embrace the times.
Yeah.
And everybody is out there on these dating apps. And so I had tried the others. It was weird, and a friend told me that more serious men were on Match.
Okay.
And so I tried Match. And I had actually gotten on there one time before it had came off, like when I was dating. Mm-hmm. But I took that little sabbatical, and I got on, and the first day I got on, I got so many, saying, people in your, but when I looked, James was one of the first pictures that I liked.
Wow.
And I liked his picture and I went to sleep. I did.
Oh wow.
And I had just got on it that day. But when I saw his profile, I had a strategy, and we're gonna write a book about it. And so I'm gonna share the strategy that I showed. But I'll share something with your guests. It had to be 3 things or more on the app on his profile for me to like him. So it had to be more than he was a Christian. It had to be more than looks. It had to be like either maybe something I could see him living out his purpose, because I live out my purpose. So I had to see him living out his purpose. I had to see some kind of evidence of his character. You know what I'm saying? Something that he was a man of integrity, something. And I found it was like 6 things. And when you find like 3 or more, you got a match. That's awesome. So he was playing his instrument. He was playing a piano. He had a shirt on that said "Saved by Grace" or something like that. And I saw all of these things, and in my mind, it was like I was grading him. He had like 5 or 6, and he was attractive, and he was tall. And so I was like, and I went to sleep. And because I feel like that's all a woman need to do, because a man needs to pick the woman.
Right.
And shortly after, he asked me my name. Once he found out I did not go to Morehouse College with the men and I was a woman, he consistently pursued me, and he has not stopped since. We actually dated for, we didn't see each other for a while. For a month. We just talked on the phone. And we just shared pictures and just talked on the phone. But we wanted to make sure that we got to know each other first, and that we were equally yoked. And we wanted to share our past, and we wanted to just get to know each other, and make sure that we felt like we were a good enough fit to see each other. We were both very serious this time around.